Perfect. Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today on such a special night as Burns Night. I appreciate you being here before going and... Did someone just whoop? Woo! I'm so sorry that we haven't served any whiskey. I think that was really an oversight on our part, but there'll be whiskey later in all of your lives, I'm sure. So thank you so much for being here for the first community event of 2024, and we are talking about what to watch out for, data, AI and tech predictions. So there will be a Q&A at the end of this session, which is really exciting because I've got lots of questions, I've got lots of things that I want to ask you all, but what's really exciting is for you to get to ask your questions that can be really specific and really random of whatever you like. So thank you again for joining us. I just want to quickly mention the Data Lab community. I think we have, yes, a fantastic QR code. So if you're not already a member of the Data Lab community, please do take a shot of that and join, because that's how you get to be part of this wonderful room and lots of other wonderful conversations and meeting lots of people. So just want to mention that there now. So I'm going to jump straight in, if that's okay. This is our fantastic panel. Could we start just by introducing yourselves very quickly and letting us know what an average work week, or what this work week looked like for you?
Oh, wow. You guys made me sit here. I'm the first. Hello. Hello. Is this working? Do I have to press something? Aha. No, we're talking about tech, right? Anyway, hello, everyone. I'm Steph Wright. I'm the head of the Scottish AI Alliance. We are the delivery body for this Scotland's national AI strategy. And we are uniquely, our executive delivery team is uniquely a partnership between the Data Lab and the Scottish Government. And to any of you not familiar with Scotland's AI strategy, it was launched at the end of March 2021. And our vision is for Scotland to become a leader in the development and use of trustworthy, ethical, and inclusive AI. And those three values really do kind of are the lens through which we carry out most of our activity. In terms of a typical week, there's no such thing as a typical week, so I know that's a cop-out answer. So let's talk about this week, what we've been talking about this week. Well, this week has been quite exciting, actually, because we've been talking about our Scottish AI Summit, which is our annual conference, which is coming up on the 28th of March in Edinburgh. We opened registrations for it on Monday, so that's a plug there. And essentially the program, we're really proud of the program we put together, because really it's around the what, when, who, why, and where of AI, and it's answering a whole lot of provocations that actually leads into some of the things I'd like to see in the world of AI this year, around regulation, responsibility, diversity, discrimination, etc., ethics, most importantly. And then the other thing is we've been doing a lot of planning ahead for the year. And yeah, so no typical week. There's just constantly changing landscape in the world of AI, as we all know. So predictions is, quite a hard thing to do with something that moves at such a pace. But yeah, so that's just me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Steph.
Great. Right, do I... Oh, no.
I've got it on already, I think.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Fairley. So I'm co-founder of a data tech company called Talking Medicines. We're based in Glasgow, London, and also out in New York. So I head up on the operations side as COO and also as Chief Data Officer. So I lead on the AI strategy for the business. And typical week. Every week is slightly different, I have to say. We're doing a lot of planning as well, coming into 2024, spending a lot of time on strategy, lots of sessions with the team to make sure that they're aligned on the vision that we're trying to achieve this year. I'm also spending a fair amount of time out in New York, so I am back and forth there quite a bit. But this week, it's all about the team, spending time with them. And it's been nice. We've had our lead NLP data scientist up this week, who's actually in the room tonight, which is very nice. He's here. So he's been here this week, and we've got a fun day tomorrow, which is here. We're bringing some of our core team to do a brainstorming session again, all on NLP and machine learning and AI. So yeah, it's been a good week so far.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Hills. I'm the Chief Executive of the Data Lab, Scotland's Innovation Centre for Data and AI. I don't know about a typical week. Lots of meetings. I guess maybe, so yeah, well, last week. So First Minister announced last week that the Innovation Centre programme, including the Data Lab, would be funded for the long term. We spent a year last year getting the proposal, getting through the stages and getting it signed off. So for us now it's planning and moving from where we are just now into the next phase with that funding. So that's the kind of key focus for us, and just delighted that a year of work from across the team have been able to secure the long-term future of the Data Lab and everything we're doing across Scotland to help with Scotland's ambition. So it's a good positive place to start the year and build upon. So looking forward to a lot more of activity, less applying for money and more actually doing really good stuff. That's what I'm looking forward to be honest.
Amazing, thank you. Elizabeth, if I could come to you first to talk a little bit about data and AI and the future from the perspective of an entrepreneur. Now, Talking Medicines isn't a new company, and obviously at some point it's always been a data company, but at some point you will have understood that AI was going to be a really big part of what you're doing. When did that realization occur, and what did you do about that?
Very good question there. So yeah, I mean, I think when we started out, so at the core of what we do is our knowledge around medicines and how patients talk about their medication and how they go through diagnosis and treatment. And that intelligence is really key to pharmaceutical companies to learn more about how they can target medicines, how they can develop medicines, and it's also important to the advertising agencies that work very closely with pharma. So yeah, so at the heart of Talking Medicines, we are really trying to, it is our medicine knowledge and our data that we collect from patients, and really getting that voice of the patient visible and heard by others. We connect on to all of those that connect with patients. So we also bring in a lot of data from healthcare professionals and influencers. And we started quite small scale in the sense that we were collecting this information through surveys and apps. And then through our customer base, we've now, we do a lot more data that's from social media. So you can imagine huge amounts of data that is coming into our system. And when we made that change, we then needed to look at how we organize that data, because conversational data, as we call it, which is where patients talk online or our doctors are talking online, they can talk in lots of different ways about many different types of diseases. So we really had to dig in and apply our NLP knowledge and our machine learning. And I'd say at the early part, although it was being, we talked about it in an AI space, we saw it more as a challenge of structuring data through, really complex modelling to try and draw out how we labelled medicine symptoms, feelings. But interesting, over the last 18 months, we have now completely accelerated into the AI market with the launch of large language models. And I think that's because we now use the large language models like ChatGPT to, we have our own, which is modified on GPT, which is called Drug GPT. And it draws out the intelligence from our data that we've structured with all our modelling technology. So I think, yeah, we've definitely grown, and it's funny how we feel that now everybody's talking AI, and now everybody's recognising us as an AI company. It was kind of there from the beginning, but actually we didn't label ourselves in that way. But I think now with the market and that acceleration, we're certainly sitting in that space. I think with the look into the future, I think it's very interesting with the last year with ChatGPT, everybody was like, oh, well, I can do this now. I can just plug this into ChatGPT and off we go. I think there's now a realization that it's a bit more sophisticated, and you need to really organize the data in a sophisticated way to be able to get the right answers back of the high quality that you need. So I think there is that real, and also the regulators are obviously kicking in and thinking, hang on, we need to put some regulation around this now, and I think they will start to inform the market growth as well there.
And so how does a scale-up brace itself for the future of everyone using ChatGPT and it just getting very chaotic with AI and everyone using the word AI, whether they're using it or not? How do you as a scale-up kind of stay in the truth of the data that you're using and the way that you're using it? Is that something you think about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think one of our challenges was with the vast amount of data that we structured, we actually found it very difficult to draw the intelligence out to customers. We always have so much data, so much tag data, we didn't know how to actually get it out to customers in a way that was easy for them to understand and be able to relate to. And so I think the large language models have really helped us to do that. They've got, they've enabled us to draw down on our curated data and draw out that intelligence. So I think, we're using it as an advantage, but I think also, we can see from our customer base, they're lining us up, so they're expecting us to be performing like ChatGPT. So we're actually spending more time with customers, trying to talk to them about the differences and the challenges and the advantages of working with us, as opposed to just trying to run their answers through ChatGPT. And I think that is, certainly last year there was probably more challenges of really, could they just use ChatGPT? I think there's now a greater understanding that they can't, and I think that expertise is now coming more to the forefront, and we're doing a lot more AI strategy sessions with customers than we've ever done before. So I guess you just got to grow with the market, and I think there's so much ideation out there that we can use to our advantage.
Thank you. Steph, if I can come to you and talk a bit about the government, which doesn't usually seem like a really exciting topic, but I'm actually really intrigued to know what the government's attitude towards AI has been in general. Like, how have you found that kind of, is it corralling them? Is it convincing them? Is it trying to hold them back from doing too much? Like, how has it been working with the government on the AI strategy?
I think that's actually quite a complex question, because a bit like AI, government just doesn't mean a single thing. I think government in general, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the government by any means. I think governments in general are trying to keep up with all this going on, with pressures from all sorts of sectors of society, really. Pressures from companies, from especially big tech, pressures from the constituents about what does this mean for me. And I think ultimately, as with a lot of industries and sectors, there's a lot of education needed about AI, because there's just so much hype, so much noise out there that it's incredibly hard to cut through that noise if it's not your job to do so, but at the same time you feel that pressure that, oh my God, I need to get on this AI thing. And the truth is, lots of people don't even know what this AI thing is. And so I think there's governments are trying, I think, but governments are complex organizations that are multifaceted and but I like to think, in a really optimistic way, ultimately their driver is about making life better for the people they govern, and governing them better as well, and providing the services, the public sector providing the services for their service users. And AI could play such an amazing part of that. And so many governments are under financial pressures. No one has money, unfortunately. Everyone's under pressure. And it's this difficult thing, a bit like the health service as well, right? It's under all this pressure. Technologies such as AI can help with these pressures, but then it's about finding the capacity when under pressure to properly explore it. So I like to think that governments are cautious around it, and they should be. They shouldn't be leaping into the void because AI is the best thing since sliced bread, so the press says, or so the big tech company that is, having those chats say. So I think it's a difficult position for government to be in, because it is ultimately a very complex organization that have so many different levers, and I'm not saying it's easy, but I think, governments are, especially Scottish Government is very committed with its AI strategy, and and that vision that was laid out in the strategy around trustworthy, ethical, and inclusive. That we're currently in the process of a review of that strategy, and actually that'll be opening for public consultation hopefully tomorrow, where we'll publish the review, and everyone can respond to see if these are still the right recommendations. But one thing that came out of that review is that vision still rings true, and that's the vision we still want to lead on and lead to. But it is, if anything, in the last 3 years of delivery is not simple. It's really quite difficult. But I think governments around the world are waking up to this reality that AI has so much potential to do good and to do harm. And it's how you balance that and how you ensure you protect the citizens that you represent in harnessing this amazing thing that could do so much without, marginalizing lots of people.
I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but do you have some examples of things that you've talked to the government about, of like, this could be absolutely game changing for this part or for these particular people? Like, is there real kind of clear avenues of where AI could be used, and can you reveal them to us tonight?
I can't reveal specific things, but I can say that one thing we are working on is the Scottish AI Register, and this is a public register of where AI is being used in public services in Scotland. And this is all in interest of transparency and also in allowing the public to interrogate these uses. Currently in the process of making this a mandatory requirement, and I think that shows the commitment by the Scottish Government to, for that trustworthy, ethical, and inclusive vision, because I think so much of the discourse, especially around services, is focused on, if you don't use this, you will be excluded. But really, that needs to shift to be, we are doing this because it helps, it is better, it gives you a better service, and it's kind of, and then by having this transparency on the register, people can go, oh, okay, so that's what the thinking is behind it, and that's what's going to be used. Or if you think, yeah, that's not right, you can actually feed that in and actually make impact and be heard in that process. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. It probably doesn't. I kind of went by a slide.
It was an avoidance of the question, which is absolutely fine. You're in a delicate state and you can't reveal things on it. I understand that. Thank you. Brian, if I can come over to you. Now, the Data Lab was founded in 2014. And as far as I was concerned, and I don't mean to offend anyone, to me, data just meant the GDPR for like many, many, many years. Like, that's all I knew as a layperson was like, there's the GDPR, people have my email address, oh my goodness. And now it's like, oh my goodness, data is cool. And there's like these amazing things that can be done with it. And of course, that's been happening in the background for many years. It's not like AI happened last year. But how is the Data Lab responding to this like sudden, you're the most relevant organization in Scotland right now. So how do you respond to the fact that this is the future, this is now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I started back in 2015, so I was number 4 in the door. But that was in the wave of big data, and that was the hype cycle at that point. So we're in an AI hype cycle just now. When I started, it was big data. I remember like, my favourite conference to go to was Strata. I thought it was amazing. It inspired a lot of the work that we do here today. And but I was getting so fed up because all the vendors were talking about big data, and I started counting how many times in a presentation they did it. And one person said the word big data 50 times in a 40-minute presentation. So, it was definitely a hype cycle of data at that point. And I think it was easy for us in those days just to get traction because of all the focus on skills development and the innovation projects and harnessing the innovation capability of our universities, which is one of the key asks of our funders to collaborate with industry, and then building the community stuff. So for me, it's really riding the wave of the increased interest now to grow that even more. And in our purpose, the first few words are about changing people's lives. So for me, it's about ensuring that we find the opportunities to give lots more people opportunities to step into the careers, to develop careers, to do life-changing projects that impact society and the economy, etc. And that's really in our next phase where the focus is going to be. And I was chatting to a lady earlier on who said to me, she's got an interview in data science next week. She'd been studying it for 2 years, and the reason she got the interview was because she'd come to or seen one of our events online. And so providing that kind of framework to people to be able to participate at scale is something that I'm really looking forward to developing further, because I think the opportunity in Scotland and around the world is still immense.
And is it going to pop? Like, is there going to be, you said, we're in a hype cycle. Is there a point where we don't say AI 50 times and we say something else? What is the next thing we're going to say?
So I think in a certain respect, this year and next year are going to be the years of reckoning. I mean, if you're a company and you've invested $8 billion like PwC did into an AI strategy, or any of the big four and others you can mention that you see in the press, you don't do that without an expectation of a return on investment. And if you can't get that return on investment within the first 2 years, it will move on. So I think you're certainly going to see from the players who've put a lot of money into it, a lot more marketing, but it's going to be the years of reckoning over the next couple, I reckon, because you can't just keep putting that level of money in. Now that's going to play into a lot of themes. It's going to play into the regulation theme, the ethics theme. Are they just pushing this just to get it into customers, etc.? And I think that's why it's really important, especially the work that Steph and the team are doing, to educate the public sector and other industries about how to adopt this in the right way and not just consume it because it's been marketed heavily just now. So yeah, for me, I think this year leading into next year is going to be the years of reckoning for that significant investment. And if you look at the Gartner hype cycle of technologies, where you get into early stages, hype cycles and trough of disillusionment, I think, from what I saw, they break AI down now. So large language models, Gen AI is at the top of inflated expectations, and the next stage is down. So, the next 2 years will prove it out. But what I would say is, and I talked about this last year, was some things are just hard to predict, right? I mean, who in the room would have predicted that a lettuce would have outlived the Prime Minister in terms of their, you just can't predict these things. And I'd say probably very few of us would have predicted the explosion when ChatGPT was released as well, and everything that happened after that. So, there'll be some things that will happen that will be probably seismic this year that we just don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm. So, do you all use ChatGPT now? Yes. Raise your hand if you do use it. Keep your hand up if you use it every day-ish. Okay, so like a fair number. And what about you three? Do you use ChatGPT in life, in work? Are you using those tools? Are you like, it's a bit overhyped, it's actually not? Steph has something to say.
I don't use it.
At all?
Occasionally, for fun, like writing stories about tapirs and capybaras is brilliant, but for a bit of fun. But I don't know, one of the things, like Brian was saying with the hype cycle, the whole Gen AI industry could well implode like this year as a reckoning, because around all the issues around plagiarism and copyright, and valuations of like OpenAI as $80 billion companies, it's just insane, and that's based on a business model that's not realistic. The analogy I always like to put that people is the best one I've seen was like, it's like a sandwich shop selling sandwiches but not wanting to pay for ingredients, kind of thing. And I just think that's like a perfect example of what's happening here. So I don't use ChatGPT. One of my team is brilliant at using ChatGPT and DALL-E. He can make amazing things happen. I don't have that patience. Yes, it's a bit, it is a tool, and for some people it's really, really useful to like be the, if you're staring at a blank page and you need to write something, ChatGPT is a great thing to get it going. But you kind of worry that there are people that are just verbatim taking what ChatGPT tells them and putting it in stuff. And for example, also like, say if people are starting to use ChatGPT to write funding applications, as a funder, surely then you see all these, kind of bland, standard funding applications. And the truth is, you probably rather want someone who like wrote like a couple of paragraphs on the back of a napkin compared to one of those, because it actually shows more effort, and probably better communication of what they're trying to do. So I think it's ChatGPT. I think it's fun. I was saying to Brian, I'd really love to hear less about it this year, to be honest, because it was nonstop last year. It really was nonstop. And it went from crazy, everyone's like, oh my God, ChatGPT is magic. And then obviously its vulnerabilities started to be exposed more and more and more. And DALL-E, Midjourney, all these, especially around image generation right now, it's in a world of potential trouble coming up. The New York Times lawsuit against OpenAI. There's all this stuff around copyright infringement, and especially these image generators. They're producing copyrighted materials with the very simplest of prompts. There are researchers that have done, draw me some animated toys, and it shows you the entire cast of Toy Story. And just think, Disney go after sandwich shops for like infringing their copyright. What are they thinking right now, right, with this? I don't know. I think that it definitely, we're right at the tip of that very hype thing. As Brian says, it could be a couple of years of total reckoning for that. Because, say, for example, OpenAI, its valuation, but it's based on a model that doesn't account for if they have to pay licensing fees to all the copyrighted material they use, then it's not the same, kind of thing. And it's also the New York Times lawsuit. It's not like they can just fix it. They can't just fix the model. They have to like go back and completely retrain it. And and there's different ways they're trying to patch it, but it's not sustainable kind of fixes to some of these problems. So I think there'll be a reckoning.
You're scaring me, Steph.
And sorry, I don't mean, I think it's a good thing though. I mean, ChatGPT got everyone talking about AI, and AI and data before that was one of these things that was so hard to explain to people because it was kind of an abstract concept, but then came this thing that you could just send people to, and look, that's AI in action. And I think in a way that was brilliant because it democratized the conversation around those technologies. But along with it came all the the hype and the fear mongering and what dominated all the narratives last year, which it's not the way the narrative should go about technologies that have so much potential.
Is it different for you, Elizabeth? Do you use it every day? Do you let it?
Well, it is slightly different for us because we do use it every day. But not in. I think. This part, I think it is, it's launched AI and data, and there's been lots of that, the acceleration of ChatGPT has helped to really put that at the forefront, so there's been positives there. I think people are they're realizing, oh, that's a ChatGPT response, so I think people are becoming there's more of an understanding. So when it was first out, it's like, oh, that's amazing. That's so well written. How have you done that? Now it's like, oh, that's ChatGPT, isn't it? So, and I think, so I think it's got its value. It can deliver something quick if you need a bit of text, and we hear that, and we use that in the business as well, and we hear that outside as well. But I think if you're looking at quality and accuracy, especially for us within a healthcare space, we're always drawing parallels between our technology and ChatGPT, and there's some very clear differences in the sense that the way that we've trained our models and the core technology that we've got underneath the hood is very it's optimized to draw out intelligence around how patients speak and how doctors are connecting with patients, and that's not going to come through something like ChatGPT. So I think there's some real, I think it's exciting to see something like that come into the market and accelerate a market, have its presence and accelerate the AI market. I also think it's exciting to see the fact that things that seemed a long way off around prediction and next best action seem a little bit closer. There's just been so much in the press as well about robots and AI robots this year coming into 2024, which I think on the flip side is, daunting, scary. People are worried. But on the other side, I just think, it's amazing to see that some of this technology is not so far away. But I think it has to be developed, and it will be developed through regulatory bodies, and governments will come in to play their part on making sure that it's kind of safe and secure. But yeah, the genie's kind of out the bottle now. You're not going to get it back in. But I think, I think there's advantages to use it, but using it in an ethical, safe way is important, and be mindful about the data that you're using. If you're setting up any modelling or NLP, just be really mindful about how you're taking that data, what that data is, whether you've got sensitive data within it. I think you need to really, really know your data, which is why I don't think the modelling expertise and that core knowledge and science around data will be going anywhere soon, because it is, that knowledge still very much needs to remain.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So, Brian, CEO of the Data Lab, do you use...
No pressure, Hazel, no
do
pressure.
you use ChatGPT to write all of your emails?
I do. No, I didn't get the last bit. No. Not yet. I'll come back to email in a second. I think one of the intriguing things for me last year was a lot of people, I remember being in the AI debate in the Scottish Parliament, and a lot of the parliamentarians talking would joke that I didn't create this speech using ChatGPT, and there would be a wee laugh. But then I would go into conferences and speakers would say it, and then I was like, what's this all about? So I was thinking about it on the break, and I was thinking, actually, well, the whole idea behind this is that it helps us crack productivity. So why aren't people actually just trying it out? Why aren't you writing a speech for Parliament with it? And ultimately, I think that leads to my word of the year. I will predict. Last year it was AI. This year for me is going to be Copilot, because that, I think, has nailed the essence of what we're experiencing, and the essence of the opportunity, I think, is Copilot. And so why aren't you writing speeches and seeing, at least if it gets you 50% of the way there, is worth the investment time. So I've taken the approach this year that I'm going to use it, and I am using it to do presentations and speeches and various other things, just to test it out. And if it's rubbish, it's rubbish, and I won't use it. If it's 30%, I'll use it, and all that kind of stuff. And I think, coming back to the email thing, thinking a lot about productivity just now, and I don't know about you guys, but I finished the year with 1,700 emails in my mailbox, right? When I started emailing in 1994 at university, it was promised that email was a productivity tool. It's not a productivity tool for me. It's like an albatross around the neck, right? And I aspire to a zero inbox, and it just really gets into my head. So, I think I'm taking the attitude we should be using them for productivity and experimentation. They're not going to solve everything. They won't 100% solve my problem, but the open experiment for me is, does it get me 50% down the line? Can I prove it? Can I learn from it? So, given it's Burns night tonight, I did a wee experiment. I asked ChatGPT to generate me tech predictions for 2024 in the style of Robert Burns, with a limit of 200 words. Would anybody like to hear? Yes. I do not do poetry or any of that stuff, so I'm going to butcher this. But if it gives you a laugh, it gives you a laugh. Yes, I've got it in Scots, so if you have a particular Scots dialect, I apologise. I do have links. My dad used to work on the farm in Mauchline that Burns worked on. Not at the same time, obviously. You probably worked that time, right? My cousin actually works in the dairy there now at Mossgiel as well, so a wee bit of family connectivity. Yeah, 200 words, so I won't bore you too much. So let's get into Burns' character without my varifocals. As you were joking earlier on. Okay, as we gather on this Burns night to cast our een into the crystal ball of technology, 2024 unfurls with promises as vast as Tam O'Shanter's Ayrshire hills. Quantum computing, a spectral steed, transcends classical limits, offering a new era in computational might. Meanwhile, machine learning, a poetic bard in its algorithms, sings sonnets of creativity, breaching the boundaries of artificial intelligence. Blockchain, a digital ploughman. I'm not going to read that because blockchain's not happening in 2024. We can get into that, right? Questions, answers. Move on. In the grand ballroom of tech, the old lang syne of ethics and privacy resonates. Responsible AI takes the lead, gracefully waltzing with federated learning, weaving a tapestry where innovation and ethical considerations interlace. At the dawn of cybersecurity breaks, it dispels the shadows of cyber threats, unveiling a new era of digital resilience. And to finish, in this cosmic Cayley, humanity and innovation twirl together, choreographing a dance that spans the realms of data and AI. The tale of progress, written in silicon, unfolds in a symphony of zeros and ones as we step into the future with hope and anticipation. So, thank you. Yeah, so, I mean, that's probably not a great prediction, right? I mean, like, you've got blockchain in there, I'm not sure about that. Cyber security, there's no depth to this, right? But then the thing that intrigues me about it is what's the next prompt I write that gets me that depth? And I'm going down rabbit holes with this stuff just now, so I'm starting to learn. So, sorry, that's a long-winded answer.
It was perfect as far as I'm concerned. I'm still just like in cosmic Cayley. Like, I feel like I could just like picture that in my head forever. The cosmic Cayley. Aren't we all just living in the cosmic Cayley of life? Do you know what I mean? Like, how poetic. That is poetic. That's great. And it's funny that you should talk about prompts, because actually that has become the new thing, right? Where like now people are like, if you just pay me, I'll give you the prompts for ChatGPT, and it's like, where does it end? Like, there's always going to be a human, like, profit generating, even if it's. I mean, could I just ask ChatGPT to like give me the best prompts for chat? Like, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? Do you know what I mean? But Brian, you so kindly volunteered a word of the year, Copilot, which I love, and I would love to extend that question to you two. Do you have a word of the year? Elizabeth, is there one that's popped into your mind? Do you want 30 seconds to think about it?
Well, we're all about the AI robot, so that's us. We've got like a big vision this year, so we're going all out. But I think Copilot is definitely there. We've got an AI plus framework that we work to that is very much putting the core of our technology plus human in place. So, and we work with our customers and our team of using our tech to get us that lift. You know, as Brian says, you know, if we can get a lift of 70-80%, then it frees up other uses of time and funds, etc., to be used differently. So I think it is something that is going to be able to drive efficiency, productivity, so I think. But I think it will be, it won't just be AI, it will be AI plus, and the human element is very, very important. But I'd like to think, and I think that will continue even, even if you think of that AI robot or predictive space, I'm sure there'll still be an element there that needs to be controlled from a human perspective.
Thank you. Steph, I'm so excited. You fly alone. There is no co-pilot. Is your word just like reckoning, just like destruction and turmoil and devastation? Like, what is your word of 2024?
I love Copilot because ultimately that's what I think technologies like AI are best at. You know, they're to augment us as humans, to be better humans, and that's what they should be used as. Oh God, but in terms of the word of the year, Copilot, absolutely, it means an actual specific product as well as a concept, which is really great. Because it kind of leads into the whole, the word AI, well, the term AI, sorry, not a word. I heard one person describe it best thing. It's not a thing, it's an aspiration, because the truth is we don't really have artificial intelligence. Which I loved, because, yeah, of course, it's an aspiration. But I don't know, I'm going to be boring and say that the word of the year for me would be regulation, because I like to think this is the year where hopefully there are breakthroughs on regulation. The EU AI Act, it's not perfect, but it's a damn good start. And because with regulation comes hopefully responsible use of technologies like AI to ultimately, serve us better.
Amazing, thank you. I have a few more questions, but actually I've heard my own voice a lot, and I would love to hear your questions. I'm sure we've covered lots and lots of different things. I'd love to hear what's on your mind. Anyone have any questions? Yes. So sorry, just to let you know, you're going to speak and then I'm going to repeat the question, because this is being very kindly recorded by Live to Air. So you'll say it, I'll say it again.
No worries.
Cool. I'm taking credit.
It's a question for both Elizabeth and Steph. So first of all, how long until we replace GPs altogether and can go to a GP and finally get a proper diagnosis? And then what happens then? What do we do with people who are then unemployed?
So GPs is in...
General
Yeah, okay. So the question is, how long until we replace GPs altogether? Is that right? We can get an accurate diagnosis, and then what do we do with the people who are unemployed off the back of that?
I don't think it's going to replace GPs. I think we'll be quite clear on that. Geoffrey Hinton, didn't he make this big declaration many years ago? There's no need for radiologists anymore. We still have radiologists, kind of thing. Because I think ultimately, we talk about humans in such a way that they're merely a function to be replaced. And I don't subscribe to that. There's more to us than just what we do. And GPs can't be replaced at the moment, because there's no AI technology on this planet that can replace your doctors, the interaction with a patient. I know a lot of this discourse around GPs is fueled by people's frustrations that they can't get a GP appointment. But I really like to think, I don't think anyone actually wants their GP to be replaced. I think they just want a health system, NHS, a healthcare system that allows them to be able to see their GP. Perhaps technologies like AI can perhaps increase the efficiencies of GPs, so that kind of more low-stake routine questions and things can be dealt with by conversational AI, that's trained on the right data and properly quality checked, that it won't tell you, if you're showing symptoms of, you're very sick, I'd say, oh, don't worry, just take a paracetamol and go lie down. But there, a lot of use of technologies like AI in healthcare are highly scrutinized, because the stakes are super high. And there's a challenge around getting AI into clinical practice because of all these, safeguards that are in place. So I don't think GPs are going to be replaced. In terms of the second question of what do we do with people unemployed, this is a more challenging question, because there's a lot of discourse around upskilling, reskilling people, and absolutely we should invest in that. But I've always been curious with the question is, what if people don't want to be reskilled? What if they don't want to be upskilled? So it's one of these, how do we make space for our future that a reluctance to be upskilled or reskilled doesn't disconnect you from society, that you can, that you're not excluded from life because you don't want to learn how to code, you don't want to, be a prompt engineer, kind of thing. You were perfectly happy doing that mundane job that people like to say AI will replace. And adding to that is, a lot of the discourse around AI is like, oh, it will replace the really tedious, repetitive task. But then if we get rid of tedious, repetitive tasks, then surely every task that we all do is hugely mentally taxing. How do we cope with that as people? Like, there's actually research into this. We're talking about if You know, because when I spoke to a parliamentary committee once, like someone said, one of the MSPs said, actually, I quite like doing the whole putting stamps on envelopes at the end of the day, because that just lets me relax. And, you know, my brain kind of like, and so if we're constantly 100% doing really, really mentally taxing stuff, what does that do to us? I don't think we're designed to do that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answer. There is the obvious answer, the upskilling and reskilling. That is an obvious one. But there is a third category that I don't think we have an answer for yet.
Mm-hmm. That's a fantastic answer. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, anything to add to?
I think Steph's covered a lot of it, but I think from a GP perspective, there will always be a place there. I think where AI can play a role is more on preventive care, on earlier diagnosis, on better treatment and outcome for patients. So, and I'd like to, you know, I think, yeah, like I said, I think the human part needs to be there, but I think we can use AI technology and to help. Yeah, earlier diagnosis, better screening programs, and a better journey for patients once they have been diagnosed. That's where, and then with the job, I mean, it's interesting. Last year there was so much, and there still is hype on, you know, the loss of job side of Chat GPT coming in and AI, etc. But I think that is beginning to settle. Like, we're certainly seeing it from our customer base. So we work a lot with advertising agencies within healthcare, and when ChatGPT came out, they were like, I'm going to lose my job. You know, I can just plug in ChatGPT and DALL-E, and the creative just pops out. And you know, and there was a lot of chat within the industry of fear of what's this going to mean for me and job loss. That's settled now because it's using it to you know, to get that lift, you know, as we've talked tonight, that it gives you that lift. So it still needs that human element to go in and check that, you know, is that actually the question that we're trying to answer. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm hugely positive on the ideation side and what it can drive, but it needs to be done in a safe, ethical way as well. Like, so I think the human element will be here for a while, and jobs will adapt and they will change, but we need to have them at all different levels. So,
Thanks very much. Any other questions? Yeah, one over here.
So this is great, Bound, thank you. And I'm actually follow up on the previous question. Is there, and that's maybe for Steph, is there a discussion within government about, I mean, upskilling, that is fine. Is there a question about taxing AI? Because some jobs are already disappearing, like call centers in Glasgow, you know, those people are actually being replaced by automated machines, and that's been happening for some time. And so there's been discussion to tax these AI companies and bring the revenue back to government and then redistribute and support the community, which might lose jobs. Second aspect, again, about the policy. For instance, so ESG on the sustainability and environment, one ChatGPT search is 10 times more expensive than the regular search. So it's going to really spike the energy consumption, for instance. So is there any discussion? I'm not talking about regulation, but is there any discussion?
So just to put those into the recording, any comments on taxing AI, especially as it's replacing jobs? It feels like I'm like a translator, but for no one. And another question about the energy consumption with a ChatGPT search taking a lot more energy than a regular search, and where the government kind of stands on that.
Well, to the first question, I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know. I'm not party to those discussions. So if there are, you know, to be honest, I'm in favor of tax because, you know, ultimately that's what fuels all the services that we have access to. So if there's a way of doing that, you know, but then conversations around this, you know, taxing carbon, you know, from taxing oil at source and all that, they're all complicated conversations that I have to be honest, I'm not part of, so I can't really comment on that. In terms of, sorry, what was the next one?
Energy consumption.
Energy consumption. Yeah, I read this like paper just before Christmas that like broke down what the energy consumption, the environmental impact of each ChatGPT, DALL-E generation you do, and it's not insignificant, and therefore in a really, kind of naive way, I'm like, oh, geez, I should use it less too. So, it's a bit like, people talking about the cloud and stuff and not really understanding that ultimately it's just lots and lots of computer servers, right, that consume a lot of energy. And ultimately, ChatGPT is powered by lots and lots of servers that use a lot of energy. The environmental impact of AI technologies is definitely not, as a conversation starter, isn't as common as it should be, because a great book to read is The Atlas of AI by Kate Crawford. It kind of looks beyond AI as a technology. It looks at everything behind AI, including exploitation of natural resources, and energy consumption, labor exploitation, all that kind of stuff. So it's easy to just think of AI as what you see, but you have to remember that there's stuff behind it, and we need to figure out if we really are to harness technologies like AI for the benefit of all, like how this squares with our net zero ambitions. Because right now, I don't think there's an easy answer to that. I think there's some really cool ideas, like I think, isn't there an idea with EPCC, Bern, is like about using like the big data servers to heat water and be a heat source and stuff like that. That's great, because then that's like using what exists to solve another problem. So I don't have all the answers, but I think the environmental impact of technologies like AI, it's not just AI, any other technical digital technology has that carbon footprint that needs to be dealt with.
Thank you so much. I think we've got time for a couple more. I'm going to go to the back and then I'll come to you. Yeah. Yeah.
So right now there's a competition. It's a UK-wide competition. It's called the Fairness Innovation Challenge, and it's looking at the use cases and solution to use cases in terms of fair and ethical AI.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Scotland really wants to position itself as a leader in the data sector, I think it needs to be something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was going to apply to this competition on behalf of the company where I worked, but I had to pull out. And the reason I had to pull out is because terms and conditions of the competition, we would have been overburdened by administrative tasks for 5 years to come, and it was just a no-go. So my biggest worry here is that, look, regulation is needed, right? But it tends to create a trade-off between itself and creative freedom. And I've seen it where I work now. I used to work for a bank before. It's got that, tendency to do so. What's the Scottish government doing about this?
I don't know how to repeat that. Can I leave that one? You will answer the question, but I'm sorry to the people on the recording.
What I want to know is what's the Scottish government's plan for ethical and fair AI?
What is the Scottish Government's plan for ethical and fair AI? I thank you for condensing that.
Once again, that's a complex question, because we have to remember that Scotland sits within the UK, and there are certain levers we can leverage, and others that are completely out with, the Scottish government's remit. I can say, with confidence that my Scottish government colleagues are talking with UK-wide regulators, and in terms of the regulation thing, I think it's a multi-pronged approach. It's not just regulation, using standards as well, I think is another way to go. The Fairness Innovation Challenge, I didn't realize about the administrative burden. That's a funding call from the CDEI in partnership with Alan Turing Institute. But I guess that's also research funding in general, though. The administrative burden is huge, and that's why a lot of it is, focused on academia, because they're used to that. So, it's difficult because Scotland doesn't have all the levers to completely control how it could do that. So the best way is to interact with the UK counterparts, and also to engage with EU counterparts as well, to see how best Scotland can, align with all the different things, because ultimately regulation is about trying to put the safeguards in place to, ensure people aren't harmed, And the whole, I've said this before, I don't like the discourse that regulation stifles innovation, because I don't believe that. Because why do you want to work on innovation that breaks regulation? Because regulation is there for a reason. It is to keep people safe. It is to make sure that the products you use are safe. And if you don't believe in regulation, then what kind of product are you trying to create? So anyway, but that's just a kind of take on that. But Scottish Government are in conversations with all the different regulatory bodies and the UK counterparts. But I think everyone is trying to figure out the best way to do this, because regulation as a concept is lengthy and slow, and AI is very fast. And I think regulation itself needs to innovate and in how it can respond to technologies like this.
Thank you. Steph, lots of people seem to have questions
I know,
about
I
that.
think it is.
No, my question was just, is this part of like the public consultation? Like, is there a way that people can find information that they're so clearly looking for when it comes to the government's response? Is there a place to send people, or is it just you?
No, like I said, I don't speak for the Scottish Government, I don't work for the Scottish Government, and I can't speak for them, but I work with them, and without sounding cheesy, there's lots of people working very hard to try and navigate this world, because it's complex, it's hard, no one's saying it's easy. We will have the consultation open tomorrow, so you'll see the independent review report, and there's quite a simple form that you can fill in to respond to it. And it'll be open for the next 5-6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so scottishay.com.
scottishay.com, there we go. I think we've got maybe time very quickly. You had your hand up? But if it's a question about the government, I'm banning it.
He's former government, so it ain't gonna be him.
Would the panel say, what's one thing that's happening in data, AI, or tech in Scotland that you think is going to get noticed internationally this year?
That's a nice question. So something in AI, tech, or data.
Data, AI, or tech.
Yeah, perfect. That's happening in Scotland that you think is going to get noticed this year.
Jeez. Right, well, I'll talk about the problem first. The problem we need to solve to do that. The problem is that we don't promote the great stuff that's happening around the country. Now, Roger and I know each other pretty well, work with each other across stuff, and we recently published the impact report from the last 9 years of work we've done in the Data Lab, and reflecting on that, there's amazing things that have happened over that period, and we're just one element of a massive ecosystem now. When you look at DDI here, and you look at Scottish AI Alliance, and you look at NMIS and various other things I could talk about. And so I think the problem for Scotland, so the challenge to do that, Roger, is that I think a lot more of us need to step up to the plate to promote what we're doing, because there's loads of great stuff. And so, like, some of the things from us, like the colon capsule project that we're collaborating with NHS Highland on, DHI, and a number of European partners about being able to take a CAM pill to diagnose the state of your colon, rather than taking the other option, which is more expensive and very painful for patients, and using imaging to do that has a significant potential to reduce cost and climate footprint, actually, when we look at that in Scotland and around the world. I mean, it's like global, and it's going really well. And the other project, another big project we're working on, Smarter Manufacturing Data Innovation Hub, which is a UK project that we're delivering the data piece on. I mean, we're saving SME manufacturers millions of pounds by using sensors and data, not even into AI yet, but just getting them into using the fundamentals of data to improve the efficiency of their business, to cut their energy bills at a time where they're struggling to stay afloat, etc. So, that's a couple of examples from the Data Lab. I think, I think the challenge upon us all as leaders is to bring these to life and coordinate the marketing on it, which I know there's some discussions that are involved in about corralling to do that, because I certainly think the story since I joined the Data Lab 9 years ago now, in February, I mean, it's changed significantly. You know that. Many of the audience may not know that. and now Edinburgh has secured the funding for the first UK exascale computer, EPCC as well. You know, that's a massive story. So there are loads of things out there. I think the job for a lot of us leading is coordinating it and actually marketing the hell out of it. So yeah, that'd be my response. And also quickly, I don't think AI will be taxed in the next 2 years. I'm not speaking from the government, personal point of view. UK government, it's all about innovation and AI. Back to your point at the back there, they're never going to look at taxing that. There may be a change of UK government to another, but I think they're still investing in innovation for the first year at least. I think from a local perspective, I think we're looking to understand much more how we use it and what the benefits are before I think the Scottish Government might think they're looking at that. So I've just touched on the tax. Personal opinion, not any advice.
Elizabeth, what do you think that people will notice happening out of Scotland in 2024?
Talking medicine.
I know, I'm going to be completely biased, obviously. Clearly talking medicines. But no, I totally agree. I think there's so much going on in Scotland, but it doesn't get talked about. And I think as well, like, some of it is because people, you know, yeah, we need to come together more. We need to think about how we advertise. And there's a lot of support there from government and, you know, the kind of, supporting bodies. But I think the hardest bit is when, you know, you're in it and it's busy day on day. It's about how do you collectively kind of promote, because there is just so much going on, which is very exciting across many sectors, actually.
And Steph?
I agree with Brian. Scotland, we're not very good at shouting about all the amazing stuff going on, but I've got two things. One thing is I like to think this year the great work going on in the using AI in breast cancer screening program will become, you know, a world exemplar, I hope, within the NHS. It's being led by NHS Grampian, but it's expanding to clinical trials, and it's a great project. And then something from us is, I like to think this year, we have a fantastic project that's been going on in partnership with the Children's Parliament and Alan Turing Institute, which is about engaging children in AI. We have this project, we're working with primary schools across Scotland, 9 to 11-year-olds, and our first phase was exploring children's rights and AI. And as Scotland has officially enshrined into domestic law the UNCRC, that's very important and a great thing. And now we're in phase 2, which is about how do we operationalize, how do we put in the mechanisms to ensure that children's voices are heard and factored into how the AI is developed and deployed in Scotland. So we're closing that project off this year, and I like to think that's something that Scotland will be known for, because we already have quite a lot of international interest in it, and it's something we're very proud of. And Children's Parliament have done an incredible job, and the stuff we hear the kids telling us is amazing, because quite often young children are disregarded in these kind of conversations. They're too young to understand. But this is their future we're talking about. This is their AI future, and they need to have their voice heard. So I'm going to end with that one.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for listening. Can you give a massive thank you to our panelists? You've been amazing. I don't know if you know the delicate art of handing a microphone back and forth, and you never missed one. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. If there is still a bit more time for networking, please do continue the conversations. So many amazing things that you've all been talking about. You have scared me though, Steph. I do want to just land on that. Lots and lots to think about. One more plug for the Data Lab community. Please do join if you haven't already joined. And another thank you to Live to Air for recording today. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy Burns Night. You have a poem to share with your friends, should you want to. I know Brian's got copies somewhere. Enjoy your cosmic kegli. Thank you so much. See you.